cities.
Oh yeah, yeah.
We're
We're all.
fine. Oh, I gotta watch.
I just said we're all followed by spirit.
Yeah, we got 4 up. Let's see. Oh, hey, we're good.
Good.
Okay, so right on, right on. So welcome everybody to the live and replay. Hang on a second. We're gonna need to take a moment to let people come in. So I'm gonna play our quick intro. We'll be back in a minute and 20 seconds with my dear friend. Be right back. What's happening, everybody?
Love that intro music. Oh, it's going.
It's pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
Uh, Hang on, my my teapot is doing its thing.
It's fine.
So what's happening, everybody? Let me give a little backdrop to this. Let me turn this off. Sorry about that. Test, test, test. Okay. So yeah, let me give you a little backdrop. So we're at like, I don't know, 2,350 to 2,400 episodes, somewhere in that range. And Shakara and I met in Sedona in September, October of 2018. And we connected, and there was a lot of synergy, and we made some good connections. She is the reason that I connected with Jade Lyons and that motley crew over there. We just spent 3 weeks with them, and it was very cool. So I'm very thankful that we got together, and we did a couple of shows, 2-3 shows, and I covered a conference you were speaking at and presenting. So Shakara is pretty special. She does you don't call it light language, do you? You call it something else.
Well, it is light language.
Yeah, but it's star language, yeah. And she does some pretty cool stuff with it because she's got some musical talent. We won't go into the biographical aspect. If you wanted to find out more, you can on the YouTube, you can, or on the Facebook, you can just look up Shakara, Tosh, and SOULSPEAK 5D. But so anyway, you've got some musical stuff going on. Mm-hmm. And anyway, we haven't really connected because you were just telling me that you've been in solitude with your partner on 23 acres with a river running through it, and just finding yourself and figuring stuff out, which is great. And I think that's a really powerful thing and a strong move to make in given 2020. We're going to talk about that because when I mentioned that, she giggled. But the one thing I wanted to bring up, so we spent a few days off and on together in Sedona 2 years ago, and the last night that we spent time together, we went up to the old Sedona Bar and Grill, and you introduced me to the folks at Vibrational Empowerment Network, or what would become that. And so we were outside, and you started doing this kind of scat jazz light language thing, which is so cool. And there was this dude about 30 years old that was on the other side of the patio, and nobody knew him, and he just started doing this opera light language, right? And they didn't say anything to each other, and he walked up to her,
Yeah.
So she's doing this jazz scat light language, and this kid is doing an opera light language, and it was amazing. I think I caught a little bit of it on camera, but I was so blown away, I forgot to turn on my damn phone. But yeah, so you've been in hanging out and it's good to see you. It's
Yeah.
good to
Thank you.
see
You
you.
too. I really miss you. I miss connecting with you.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I wish you'd have been in Sedona. You know,
Oh,
we did this thing at the end the night before we left, and it was just it's at Posse Park. You know where that is?
yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. So it was at Posse Park, and and they set up in on that stage in the canyon. You know, overlooking the canyon, and Morgan and I got there like 5 minutes before it started. And then I get up on the stage and he says, and there's all these musicians, Ty was there and this Andante guy who was amazing. And so Jade's like, here, Todd, here's a microphone. You start us out. I'm like, I've never done this before,
Yeah.
but first time for everything. But they were amazing, man. It was amazing. But that would have been cool if you
Yeah.
were there. Shakina Rose came up at the end. I got her to
Yep.
get on stage.
Yeah.
That was very powerful. Yeah. So I love the spontaneous part of it, and that you got a lot of that going.
Oh,
Uh,
absolutely.
so
Yeah.
what have you been doing? So how long have you been there? You've been in solitude, living as a hermit with your partner for what, a year and a half?
About a year and a half. Yep. We're in Southwest Wisconsin in this area I was telling you about called the Driftless region.
Mm,
And I had moved here 7 years ago from being in New York City, the heart of New York City, for 35 years. And it's just magical.
mm,
My partner and I go out at 5 o'clock in the morning, watch the sunrise and listen to the birds and really sink in. And there's like three eagles and hawks on this property. And they just, animals are abundant. And there's Amish right across the street. So I see them farming the land with these huge workhorses. And I mean, it's just really all about organic and the
mm.
essence of the land. And the timing couldn't have been more perfect because we actually moved here right about April when things were getting haywire.
Oh, you this year. So you moved there this year.
No, we were there. We've been in this area, but we moved
Oh,
out to this land. We've
oh,
been here
okay.
about a year and a half. So yeah,
Okay.
and I just went really deep after, doing conferences and traveling back and forth all over, meeting like thousands of people. I just went dark, literally, to kind of work on, you know, um,
What do you mean
figuring
dark?
out and
What do you
we,
mean dark?
I went
Was
I
it
went quiet.
you went quiet? Yeah.
Yeah. In the still, I should say, in the stillness of the
Yeah.
the uh the
So it
night.
wasn't like a dark night of the soul
Oh,
period. No.
well, yeah. Everybody's going through that. I
I
mean,
know, man.
I
Isn't
think
it?
it's so important to talk about love and light because there's people say, oh, love and light, you don't have any shadow work, and it's all shadow work. We're
Hmm.
all doing stuff. I had to release lots of stuff from the past, and as you know, and all your people talk about, and you talk about, we build all the stuff, we build all these stories about ourselves and things that we've been implanted in and in the matrix and information and stuff, and we really just got to purge that now. And
Yeah.
so this was a time for me, a conscious choice to kind of, again, for the third time, I think, just kind of leave everything and go on the land
Yeah.
and be silent for a while. And then all these messages, have been coming in for like 6 7 years.
Yeah.
So there's star language and there's artwork and codes but I've been amassing this stuff, and I said, what the hell am I supposed to do with this? I've been writing for about 7 years. I get these
Mm.
downloads at 6 4 5 6 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning. It's all on time codes, 444 Arcturian time code. And I've been writing. And I was dyslexic. I didn't think of myself as a writer or a teacher. And I'm like, what am I supposed to do with this? And then I work with all these star guides. I mean, everybody works with guides, and you can tap into any of them, but they all started coming more in the physical to me and introducing themselves and giving me these messages. So it's a little bit different than channeling. It's really like integrating with my higher self,
Yeah.
which we're all doing right now. So this is really, really what's been going on. I mean, it's really profound and like opening the veil. And I'm having these mystical, multi-dimensional experiences where I kind of tune in and I can see energies and
Yeah.
patterns, and the trees talk to me. And I mean, so I had to kind of go through that period. But I think, especially now with what's going on in the world, it's so important for people to just get back in their center,
Yeah.
whatever that means, and tune in
Yeah.
and what you were talking about. It's so important to have these gatherings, I mean, and
Yeah.
this is what's so difficult at this time. People need people. People need to connect. They need to be physical. They need to touch. They need to just love each other and support each other and really create new things. So that's what I loved about what you were doing there. That's what that whole tribe is all about.
Yeah.
And this is a time for us to really come together and support each other. So everybody has to do this, in their own way, and
Yeah.
everybody kind of figuring it out. But all this, a lot of people are talking about ascension and what this is. We're already in it. As
Yeah.
far as I'm concerned, we already crossed the threshold. And what I had to figure out about my work and how I'm of service to people is really coming from that place of I feel like I'm already here,
Yeah.
and we all are, and it's just kind of getting loose.
I think that's one of the things that we've all kind of learned in 2020
Yeah. Yep.
is that because you watched it and look, you picked a really good time
Yeah.
to go into hibernation or into, I would say, sharpening your axe mode.
Yeah.
You know,
It was like a self-initiation. It was by
yeah,
choice, and it's very hard work. I know we're all
absolutely, absolutely, and I mean, I respect what you did. But what I was going to say too is that, like, I saw this thing happen, and I've talked about it before. I don't want to go too deep, but like at the end of 2019,
Mhm.
this isn't a slight. This is just a description of a frequency change.
Mhm.
So the yogi guru frequency, the teacher student frequency,
Mhm.
I watched it on this show, and it was amazing how it's shifted.
Mhm.
And it went from for lack of a better word, a disempowerment frequency or a codependent frequency, which served us very well. I mean, there's no doubt about it. And I watched it shift into 2020,
Mhm.
like practitioners coming on and talking about how their practices changed and their modalities have changed and so on and so on. It's been an amazing thing to watch. It really has. I know you're a teacher, and I know, because I'm familiar with you, some of the things that you've put together. There's a lot of things that you do. But have you been actively? Have you had an active practice, or have you been totally like just into what you're doing?
Well, so for me, the practice is really just getting in tune and trying to stay in that vibration every moment and getting in my center. And these messages just come. I mean, all these guides, I'm feeling them,
Mm,
and they're coming through me, but it's kind of a blending. So all the messages that I get from all these star guides, and I want to talk a little bit about that, is this is the time that we've been waiting for.
yeah,
All the dissonance that's going on in the world is happening exactly at this moment for a reason, and we are part of this big show. And this is the time that we have called ourselves in to be here to
yeah,
transmit and transcend and figure it all out. We're all creating this world with our consciousness. And,
yeah,
so you look out in the outside world, which is really not the outside world. Anyways, it's all quantum.
yeah,
And you've got all these dividing factions. You've got people arguing in the duality of the world and this and that, and the masks are not, and protests are not. And, I mean, all the issues, politics and religion and psychology. And, what you're talking about, the shift out of the guru status is that I understand, the way I understand it is that we're all coded with all the
yes,
seeds of creation. So each one of us has a unique code. Each person is really
yes,
important. So you have a certain vibration that you accentuate or that comes up that's you. You have a certain star group that you're kind of aligned with.
yeah,
You've done various work on different planets and in different ways and, in the world and your past lifetimes. And that's your gift. That's your gift. So
yeah.
that's what you're
That's
supposed
what
to do.
that's what Morgan says. And
Yeah.
and there's no teachers in 5D.
Yeah.
We basically sit together and share code,
Yeah.
which is exactly what you're saying.
We're sharing code.
That's
So what?
why that's why I was going that direction with you, because I knew, not that you ever had that. I never detected that. Not that there would be anything wrong with it. You always were about self-empowerment,
Yeah. Yeah.
And also your modalities extend far beyond a traditional
Mhm.
energy practitioner doing sessions.
Yeah.
I say traditional, but a more typical.
Mm.
You also have these other streams coming out of you, like your expressions,
Yeah.
including your light language and including your scat.
So yeah, well, I want to do a little bit of that too.
Right
What's
on.
really interesting is so I'm an artist. I went to art school, And I always studied really early video, performance art, multimedia, painting, sculpture. My mom was an artist, and so I was just exposed to this as a way of being. And as I mentioned many times, she never shut me down. She just said, go paint it. I said, I see a star person there, or I'm feeling a song coming through. And she said, sing it or do it or whatever. So for me, the multimedia stuff has always been just part of what I do. I paint, I draw, I do these codes. I mean, for years I was writing these star language code books. I didn't understand. I was putting codes in my paintings when I was 7. And then probably 5 years ago, I started actually speaking the tongue of the star language, the light language, and I want to share a little bit of that too. But and what's really fascinating is so many people are doing it now, and I think it's there's an ancient tongue that everybody speaks. I mean, it's telepathy, and it's the heart, and it's love, and then out of that evolved these various tonalities, sound tones, and when people are toning together, they sync up that way. But for me, it was always just, it didn't matter what the medium was. I'm synesthetic, and I think many of your audiences, and I know that you are, all your senses are crossing, so you hear and taste sounds and feel vibrations and stuff. So the thing that's really interesting about this time that I took for myself is I really had to get back to who I was, who I really was, who I wanted to be, and how I wanted to show myself out in the world, or just my it's really about self-expression. And I was really shy many years, for most of my life, till I was about 25. And then in New York, it's like you get out there, you got to be in the world or forget about it. So I started talking, and then these guides came in, and as I talk on lots of different subjects, and it flows. It's so intense right now. And I've been going through massive menopause. For all you ladies out there that are feeling it, I am definitely feeling it. And these ascension symptoms, and I mean, I'll get whacked out for 2 days and I can't move, and then I get incredible energy and I want to jog 100 miles. And so these waves that we're going through is like our body is recalibrating.
Yeah.
So all this stuff is happening. So for me, like, it's putting all these pieces together. But I had to really just stop and listen to the universe. And for me, it was about finding my voice, and I was guided by one of my elders. I work with a lot of indigenous elders. And, he would say all the time, it's not about you. It's not about you. And I realized it's not about the ego. It's about the gift of individuality, personality, whatever you want. So there's layers of, who we are, who we think we are, who people have defined us to ourselves, and we kind of attach to that and say, okay, well, I'm this, but we're everything. We can be anything at once. And so what I realized in this time was I had to start showing this other side of me, which is pretty goofy and silly and playful. And I mean, I have this very sacred side. So I'm a 4-year sun dancer. A lot of people may not know that about me. So and that's a very, very profound experience. I've done vision quests on the hill, and I do a lot of sacred kind of traditional ceremony, because I think that's really important. But I think they're really ancient ceremonies. So a lot of the messages I'm getting are people and the guides have showed me that I'm a bridger of these very ancient ways and these very modern star ways or whatever, and kind of what we're becoming. So it's like a blend of ceremony. I mean, I love drums, I love feathers, I love ceremony with crystals and rocks, and those are tools. But I think that what I'm being shown is that we need to learn different ways to use tools. So if you hold a certain crystal, you're going to get a different message, a different vibration, and it's got to come back to what we're remembering that we already knew. So when you're talking about the guru, I've had many teachers, but most of this path that I've walked on, I guess the spirit walk or the mystic way or whatever, it's been extremely challenging, very lonely, very hard, but it was a choice that I had to make to figure this stuff out for myself. But in doing that, I have met many people, but my best teachers are children, elders. I'm always doing grandmother circles. I'm really, there's something very profound about the grandmothers coming back, and there's lots of movements that people are going to start seeing about listening to the teachings of the elders. I mean, they've lived it and done it, but these kids, these star kids, are just phenomenal. And
I know, man. We've
Dude,
had,
it's all about vibration. I mean, I'll go to the
uh,
supermarket and they'll just like stare at me and we'll telepath and I can hear them talking. And
yeah.
usually they're like, "Can you tell my mom, you know,
Yeah, yeah.
you know,
But we've had some well, we've had some parents
mm,
relaying their stories on the show, and we've had a few kids,
yes,
at least come in for a little bit of the show. In fact, we're going to have one. Alina Sanchez, I think her daughter is around 10.
uh-huh,
She's in was in New York, now she's in Florida, but she's going to be on next week, and her daughter has been talking. I don't remember the specifics because I do so many shows, but has been saying certain things her whole life and
yeah,
seeing certain things. So she's going to come on. We
awesome.
had Mary Rodwell on here a few
Yes,
times.
yes.
So you're familiar with that.
Oh yeah,
And we, like even it even happened to me when I was in Florida and I saw my first grandkid and he's like,
yeah,
what, 3 months old,
yeah,
and I'm
yeah,
changing his diaper,
yeah,
just out of necessity. And he started telepathy.
uh-huh,
It was the same thing. Tell my mom this.
yep,
We had a couple of lives together, I mean, so this to me, this is the big wild card.
yes,
Like,
yeah,
and what really intrigues me is I know Morgan and a few others, she just referred to it on a post she just did a couple of days ago in regard to the 369.
yes,
And that in March, around March 11th, give or take,
mm,
conception occurred.
yes,
And the golden child was conceived. And then I think she just, on the post she did, she was talking about how she just hit the 6,
uh-huh,
and that it's going to be birthed around the 21st of December.
mm-hmm,
And that's pretty powerful. And then if you throw in the literal part of it, everybody got locked down at that time.
oh yeah,
So what is everybody going to be doing if they're all locked in at home? It's like World War II babies. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah, yeah,
So I guess what I'm saying is there's going to be a physical representation of the energetic force
yeah,
of this higher frequency that is going to be in the bodies of all these children
yes,
coming on to the earth, which to me, I want to get your view on this, but like to me, it's like, wait a minute, you're going to have all this new energy coming on. It's going to be growing and growing and growing, and you know what I mean, and becoming in a steady way the majority frequency.
yep,
And there's not going to be any words to it. I mean,
yep,
these the impact of these kids, I think, won't take until they can instruct us. I
yes.
think it's more like a tuning fork type of thing. What do you think?
So they're already here. I mean, they're all here, and it's our inner child also. We all
Mm-hmm.
have that capacity. So, Dolores Cannon talked about the 3 waves of people. We had the New Age movement, and then kind of way showers, gatekeepers, kind of openers, grid workers, whatever. And then, they talk about the new children. But I think it's also, those of us who are a little bit older are opening that consciousness. So when they talk about the veil lifting, it's already lifted. You just gotta kind of walk into it. So,
Yeah.
I do these client sessions with people on Skype, or now mostly on Skype, but talking, and everybody's like, well, I feel it, but I don't know what to do with it, or it's kind of there, but I don't know how to access it. And so a lot of the work that is coming to me right now that I'm going to start doing teachings and webinars on is how to kind of step into it. So there's lots of layers. You've got mind, body, soul, and spirit, and they all work together. And you've got to clarify that literally and kind of sync them all up again. It's already in us.
Mm.
And so it's this overlay of what we think of the matrix and we think of as problematic, and these things that are going on in the world. There are definitely beings, I call them overpower beings, power over beings, that are trying to guide the ship, but it's already changing. This
Yeah.
is why I don't worry about anything right now. And I really want to stress to people who are listening, it's a really challenging time, and it's bringing up everything. There's solar flares going on, the Schumann resonance, the vibration of the earth is all affecting our electromagnetic spectrum. So we're part of that. So you're going to feel things. You're going to
Mm.
things that you have to deal with. And it doesn't have to be dramatic or traumatic. It just has to be like, okay, there it is. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
If you get a learning out of some experience, even the worst experience you can imagine, you actually put it in its place and allow it to. It's like a thought form that you kind of put over here and go, okay, that was interesting. I mean, this is what's happening in our life. When we pass on, it'll be like, wow, that was what just happened there. What did I learn and what did I do? But these back to these children, they're already keyed in. So I believe they are coming in consciously with higher DNA
Hmm.
activated. So we all have that, and we have that ability to do that. So they're actually helping us as a collective open this up. And I really, really want to give a shout out to Mary Rodwell.
Yeah.
She was a big inspiration for me. When I started, somebody said, "Oh, you speak light language." I didn't know what it was, 5, 6 years ago, and how she's bringing this information to the surface and just showing one after another, all these children
Yeah.
having these, especially parents and kids, having these phenomenal experiences. So these kids, I believe, come in at a mastery level. The problem is that they have parents that don't understand them, or they think it's weird, or they've been talked out of, the spirit world, or, what are you doing with crystals? You should be doing this other thing. But, there are enlightened parents that are starting to create a space for them. And I think we have to do this with each other. You have to, like, make light language normal. Is I'm going to make T-shirts. you know, make higher vibration normal, and telepathy and all that stuff, because we have all these senses. We're so limited. It's all based on this lockdown, the lockdown of what we've been taught that we think that we are.
Hmm.
So people talk about your spirits in a physical body. It's so much more than that.
Oh yeah.
So what I'm
No
being
doubt.
shown is my guides are showing me that, which is also one of my higher self is one of my guides, is that we've come through all these experiences to have this so that we can understand how to open this up. And what I'm being shown right now is our higher self is coming down in the physical and being completely physical and completely spiritual. And so these kids know what's up. They can feel it, and they feel vibration. They can sense people's emotions, and they're very empathic. And I can relate to them because I felt like I was kind of always that way. I just always looked at the world that way and felt energies. I could hear trees talking to me, and kind of what other people may consider kind of woo woo or wacko, but it's just a part of who they are.
Yeah.
So they're here as kind of systems busters to show something new, to show a new way. And this
Yeah.
is why it's really important to encourage children to talk about what they see, what they think, and they feel. And so this, I don't want to get too deep in this, but I think this time of this lockdown has been so traumatizing to so many children. And this is part of this program, is to basically deny their expression. Kids sit in front of computers, trying to hit a button at age 7, to raise their hand. I mean, that just doesn't make sense to them. They need to play. They need to make music and dance and move around with their bodies, and touch people. So at the same time, with this, um, with this moment where everybody, was, I shall say, requested to stay inside for a while, because I believe in free will and you can do whatever you want. But uh,
You won't get an argument from me.
yeah, I know, right? But it was also a good time for people to reflect.
Absolutely. It was
Who
a
am I? What
perfect.
is my life? What's going on?
Absolutely. Perfect design, right? I mean, not only did they have the self introspection, but they were pulled out of their patterns and behaviors.
Yep.
They were forced at home with people. And I've said this many times on the show, but like they're with people that they've been living with that they haven't even talked to for 20
Yeah,
years.
yeah. You
There was
gotta,
a
you gotta, you're forced to connect and
yeah.
communicate. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that was like, I mean, that was such an exceptional orchestration, and I know we all had a hand in it.
Yeah.
I mean, we created that,
Yep.
which is mind blowing, because it's the perfect paradoxical example of the universal's flow, which
Absolutely.
what looks like this really isn't that. Turn it upside down, and we're actually in the most exciting stage to date.
Yep.
2020 has just been
2020
amazing.
vision. Well,
Yeah.
this is what we've been working for. So whether you're conscious of it or not, we're all contributing to this. And that's why it's so important to, stay in a high vibration. So I tell people, it's really important to feel whatever you got to feel. If you're angry, get angry. You're happy, get happy. I mean, these are human emotions, have to be mastered. And going back to this concept of no gurus, you have all the answers
Yeah. Absolutely.
inside, and you got to dig and find them. But you already know. But it's very simple. It's a paradox. This is what's so weird about it. It's very simple and it's very complex. And I yeah.
It's simple, but it's not easy.
Yeah.
That's the way. But I just want to restate something too, because that thing about sitting with whatever you're feeling,
Mm.
that I can't think, as the days have gone by, especially since like late 2018, right when I met you,
Mhm.
that's something I had learned to do.
Mhm.
And as time goes on, I can't think of anything more powerful in the boots on the ground part of us, right? You
Mhm.
know, uh, that's more impactful. And I'll just give you a quick example. Saturday or Sunday morning or Saturday night, I laid down, I connected, I had some nice stuff happen visually with I guess, a star family, was columns of light in the room. But what precipitated it was a very sad feeling.
Mhm.
Like
Mhm.
something came over me.
Mhm.
I had some idea of what it was, or at least the way it was presented to me. And I just said, you know what? I'm going to feel this.
Mhm.
And I really did it at a level, which I'm sure is because of the universal energy where it stands and the level of expansion of our consciousness collectively has made it available. So I sat with it. And what I noticed was two things. One, it dissipated not only very quickly, but very gracefully.
Mhm.
And that you can't fake that. And
Yep.
then the second thing that happened was these kind of obelisk looking white columns of light kind of formed.
Oh
You
yeah.
know, you know what I mean. So
I
there
do.
was like, so it was like I don't know. To me, it's like I can't think of anything that's more meat and potatoes, like
Yeah.
humanesque
Yeah. Yeah.
that we can do that can kind of open up these doors.
Yeah. So when people talk about healing, one of the guides that I work with is who I call Emmanuel, and Jesus. That people consider Jesus comes to me with some messages, and I'll mention this now. This is something I haven't talked about a lot, but is coming through in a lot of books and work that I'm doing. Is he had a sister, a twin sister named Emanuela. That was the message I got, and this Chief Golden Light Eagle that I've worked a lot with. Um, is that she was sort of a kind of an energetic vibration, so that's why people didn't know her. But it's an energy; it's part of this divine feminine, divine consciousness coming back, and the Mother Creator. It permeates through all this stuff, and that's there's a whole book I'm writing just about that. But this idea of rebirthing yourself. I mean, we've dabbled on so many things. The 369 is about the Trinity, mother, daughter, Holy Spirit, the divine feminine of the Trinity of the three goddesses, the maiden, the mother, the crone. It's about these three stages and the balance with the male, with the Father, Son, Holy Ghost. This is why I keep looking at a Merkaba, but I keep seeing. I mean, I work with symbols a lot and codes, and the Merkaba is what I'm seeing is it separating to become like a, how do I do this? A diamond,
Yes.
equal balance, and
Yeah.
it's this diamond light
Good
photonic,
point. That's a good point.
and so it's this balance of masculine and feminine within us all. So it doesn't matter if you've been born a man or a woman, but it's about this reblending, about both hemispheres in our mind, in our brain, and finding this balance again. So anyway, this Emanuela guide has been showing me it's about finding your truth. So what is that? It's your own personal expression. I call it an energy frequency signature. So everybody has a voice, and everybody has a tone. Everybody has a sound. Just like every planet has a tone, and we all got to learn how to work together. But when you were talking about going through this very heavy period, I've done this a lot lately, and it's a release of the energy. But the healing doesn't have to be hard. It can be heavy, and as you're going through it, but I feel what I'm shown is when you have an emotion, just let it come up. And so everything is about fear programming. So we don't want to feel something. We had a bad relationship, we don't want to trigger that again. Or, oh, there's a thought that I kind of buried somewhere in my body that I just don't want to deal with. This bad feeling, and it kind of eats away at you for a little while. You just got to look at it and experience it, and as soon as you do it, that's how you
Yeah, what I noticed about it too, from an energetic standpoint,
mm,
which is really cool for me anyway, my own epiphany, my own revelation.
mhm,
So there's got to be some parallel.
mhm,
Um, when you sit with it, because judgment is really big now.
Mm-hmm.
right? I mean, as this stuff's all coming to the surface, there's judgment. You're seeing a boatload of it right now, even in the light worker circles. It's pretty
Oh yeah.
crazy,
Yeah. Yeah.
for me to even think about people that are channeling specific political, inclination.
Avatars.
But what I was getting at is when you sit with it, like I said, with the experience Saturday night, it dissipated quickly. It was very graceful.
Mm-hmm.
And the element of judgment goes away because I didn't really think about it. I thought, like what you're talking about, there's so much conditioning, this fear-based programming. And what has it created? It's created a lot of self-judgment, which was then mirrored into our view or perspective of our mirrors.
Yep.
But so I was like, okay, so I'm sitting here and I thought I just went from like what's missing here? And I was like, oh, there's no judgment.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
then I went, okay, what do I have? Well, you have revelation.
Yeah.
You have revelation. You just kind of figured out finally, that if you stay with these, whatever you're feeling, and just absorb it and just stay with it, this is what occurs.
Yeah.
And one of the byproducts, this is what I got. One of the things I got Saturday was the judgment goes away.
Yes.
It's gone. There's
Yeah.
no judgment.
Yeah. So this is what's so interesting about this duality world is that we think there's us and an other.
Mm.
And we have been so separated from ourselves by these programs. I don't. It's that realm is for somebody else to work in. But talking about the programs and the agendas and the thing is, you got to turn all that off and just listen. Just listen inside. Listen and be a good person. Do things that make you feel empowered and happy. Dance, cook, sing, love, whatever it takes.
Yeah.
Whatever it takes. This is actually. I'll kind of bring through a couple things at once. So these guys are like, yeah, they want to talk Starlight.
Bring them in. Oh, well.
Yeah. Well, they're always here. I mean, I'm talking more light language than I am English sometimes. So English, I forget English words all the time, but so this judgment is really damaging. And this is about judging yourself or judging other people. And when you let go of that and just know that everything's okay. It's the human condition. We're human. We go through ups and downs. It's okay. Everybody during the day can feel elated and have a difficult moment. But it's how you respond versus reacting to that moment, how you feel. How are you feeling? And it's not just emotion. It's your light body is feeling it. All your senses are perceiving it. How you're thinking about things. You're literally creating and recreating your thought forms all the time, every second. So when you have that moment, that's fear. I've been in fear. I've been, I've been in very difficult situations many times in my life, or disappointment, or feeling. I'm very empathic. I'm feeling a lot of heavy sadness. A lot of people are checking out because they don't know what to do. And it's because they don't see models out in the world, on television, on Facebook, on, social media. It has been wonderful to connect people with, but it's so in training. It's what's built into it is this behavior mechanism of triggering people. Like, am I better than this? Who's liking my stuff? What's going on? Who's more important? And so creates this ongoing kind of competition, but it makes us competitive with ourselves.
Yeah.
Am I doing it right? So all these questions, at least this is what's been happening for me, is like, okay, just let it be. Let it be. And be conscious and aware. Like what I do is I look out in the world quickly through media and just kind of see patterns of where people are going, just to kind of sense, what the human condition is right now collectively. But then look for what's missing or what people are longing for, what they're not seeing. And I try to put that out. So the I guess I really want to share. I'm of service to people. This is what I do. This is what you do. This is our work now, and we're all of service to each other. And so when you're having a hard time, that phrase, when you're needing help someone. Yeah. It'll get you out of your funk. It will do something nice for somebody. Just care about people and take care of yourself. So you were asking me, what modalities or what do I do? I try to meditate. Walking is really good. Connecting with the land, going barefoot on the land, even though it's freezing here.
Yeah, is it freezing? Do you love it?
It's these little snow flurries, but You know,
I gotta say something too,
yeah,
because I get the same thing happens to me,
yeah,
and normally I can hold it, but this I think is important because it wasn't really stated, but I just saw it. When you talked about the soul signatures,
yes,
everybody is unique,
yes,
right? I mean, I was told that 9 years ago that you are all one unique and equal soul, but the key unique, that means that that's it. That part of the universe is only you, right?
yeah,
And then when you're talking about the comparisons,
uh-huh,
and what I'm seeing or what I'm getting is, so in the field, especially in this field where we're kind of like blazing the trail,
uh-huh,
which is putting up front and center all the human things that are dying, you
yeah,
know, which is creating, you know, discomfort and all that stuff. But my point is that I think what I'm trying to say is part of what's happening is we're transitioning from this competitive separation frequency
mhm,
into our true essence, where we do have this individuality, this uniqueness.
mhm,
And so not everyone is going to be affected the same way by anything and everything.
mhm,
And I think that's just something to remember. Is again going back to like, don't be so hard on yourself. You know, there's some things that you might slide through with ease and grace, and I might be faced with the same thing, and I'm, you know, going to hell in a handbasket.
yeah,
But I think that's that soul signature,
yeah,
that unique soul signature, is going to provide us a little different type of contrast in terms of, you know, it's not a competitive thing or a comparative thing, but I think it's just something to note, and I just
yeah.
need to say it. So
No,
thank you.
that's really important, and it's really about honoring that in other people. So I honor this work that you do. I honor you as a person. This is just how you're choosing to show up. I have no judgment about it.
Hmm.
You know, so I mean, great leaders have always talked about, respecting difference. We can have different opinions and still love each other.
Yes.
And this is what has been promoted is, if you see something, say something, take another person down, narc on them, like draw attention to what they're doing wrong. And we've been put in this program, I think, to decide if we want to do that or not. And you don't have to do that. And
Explain
so,
that again.
so
Say that again, because I'm picking up. Go ahead.
okay, so what's happening now is we are at the last stages
Okay, I
of
got you.
these darker energies
I got you.
testing us, but
Yeah. But
they
yeah,
they come from
and
the light too. It's all
yeah,
it's
absolutely, and absolutely. Oh, I love this. This is great. I just had this conversation with my daughter, my 19-year-old daughter, 2 nights ago,
mhm,
because I was telling her, she was asking me, how can I expand? And I said, you know, I've talked to you about this before. I've sent you the document,
mhm,
Morgan's process of zero pointing, which is making a list.
mhm,
Start with your mother, your father, and then go from there. And what I said to her was, make the list of me,
mhm,
good and bad, but
mhm,
understanding it's not good or bad.
mhm.
It's just information and code. So I love what you're saying. So the last vestiges of the dark, we'll
That's the
call
word I
dark, which is
say.
not dark,
Yes.
right? Is playing out.
Mhm.
And what triggered me, not triggered me, but what resonated with me is when you said, and we're trying to figure out what we want to do with it. In
Yeah.
other words, what level of integration, what level of zero point do
Mhm.
we want to potentialize, you know, or what level of potential do we want to hit in this in this specific incarnation that we're all sharing together. I think that's brilliant because you're taking the dark and light out of it,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, see, that's the thing that's so challenging now is we live in a dual world. The Earth is a free will planet, but it's also about duality. So
Yeah.
we've got to find this balance. So people say, "Oh, how do I get to these higher vibrations?" I'm like, "You're already in it." As I'm shown, we're in the 13th dimension physically. In the physical body, we can experience vibrations up to a 13th dimension, which is really hard for people to understand conceptually, but it's just a different way of being, of manifesting, of using energy. Everything's energy. But how do you, walk these worlds? We've got our 3D life, and then a lot of us are getting downloads and messages and seeing things, and then and kind of how do we put it together? And I think, when they talk about reception through distraction, this is a marketing technique of, beautiful child and then a horrible incident and then this is nice and this is difficult. And so people, what this is doing is fragmenting people. Our brains are by choice being separated and fragmented, and we gotta find this balance of being aware of things but not being a part of it. It's like being in the world but not of it.
Yeah.
So everybody, I believe, has their own unique experience, their own interpretation of what this ascension means, this shift
Hmm.
time is. And this is what I love about your show. You get all these different people on talking about their own
Hmm.
personal experience and their understanding. But it's nothing that you can prophecy or predict because we are creating it right now.
Hmm.
So it's like learning that you're a master creator. Everyone is creating like these energy forms that are instinctive, then they become thoughts, then become emotions. They all work together, and you create a world. If you're stuck in a situation and you want to shift it, just see it differently, put it in perspective, just like you did, with your feeling. So don't judge it, just
Right.
enjoy it for what it is, put it in its place. This is about remembering truly who we are. So our body system, this is, I can't even begin to tell you the thousands and thousands of messages that I've got. I mean, this was so challenging for me to figure out. I mean, basically, I stuck my fingers in the Akashic outlet, and why am I getting all these understandings? And I had to break this stuff down and make sense of it so that I could
Hmm.
share it with people. But I'm just one person, you know, uh, sharing what's coming to me that can help people kind of look at the world with a different paradigm. It's a paradigm shift.
Another thing that you said too is because we're in the ringing out period
Yeah,
here.
yeah,
That comes to mind too. That I just realized too, because there's always been projection, and obviously we spend most of our time. Mostly examine the field in the community that we call light workers,
mhm,
starseeds, right?
yeah,
There's been like crazy projection,
mhm,
polarization in the last 2-3 months. It's like almost weird. It's just weird. But what you said something a minute ago, and that was in terms of the judgment,
yeah,
right?
mhm,
So I would say, like, I guess this is what's happening is we're judging, even if there's no such thing as a soft judgment. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
you can be really demonstrative and have a hard judgment and be very vocal, or you
mm,
can be a very soft judgment
mm,
and it not be as inflammatory, but it's still judgment.
yeah,
And what I'm seeing is this judgment more than ever is coming back and like on steroids and smacking us in the
yeah, yeah.
face.
Well, this
You
is
know,
what I'm seeing is this energy is coming in so strong that it's literally pushing things to the surface in ways that we can't even imagine. I mean,
yeah.
it's happening so fast. So there's timeline shifting. There are triggers. So if you have any emotional trigger inside of you, when you interact with somebody and they cause you problems, or you see something that you don't like, or something comes back your way, it's usually you. It's usually me. It's usually something that I got to look at. So that's the universe in this divine way going, okay, there's something to look at and learn from. And when
Mhm.
you don't put it back on the person, you don't own it, you just kind of leave it in a space and look at it, like you said. And that's the losing attachment to it. So it's
Mhm.
we are programmed with fear. And when you let go of fear, I mean, what's the worst that can happen? We're scared of
That's where
repeating
the
the
gold
same.
comes,
Yeah.
right?
And so, I think, when you talk about the light worker community, what's so interesting is it's bringing up everybody's personal
Mhm.
feelings and positions and their likes and their dislikes. And that's okay if you just honor the way that people express themselves as they are. Somebody can be really loud and boisterous, somebody can be a warrior, somebody can be goofy, somebody can be very quiet and spiritual. It doesn't matter the modality. It doesn't matter what tools they're using. It doesn't matter how they're working. Just honor them for what they're doing.
And
Take
that's
bits and
every
pieces.
and
And let,
that's everything too.
yeah.
I mean, as this gets as more is revealed,
Mhm.
and I think a lot's going to be revealed through the end
Yeah.
of the year
Oh, yeah.
because of this election,
Yes. Yeah.
because some certain narratives haven't played out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Certain savior base programming is going to implode.
Hmm.
And like all of our journeys, we're going to be stripped by force or flow until we're standing butt naked
Yep.
and it's just us,
Yep. That's
right?
exactly what's going on. And so I want to share with people that are listening, just, don't intune in it. Just look at it and say, oh, that's an interesting story.
Yeah.
Is, take the best, leave the rest. But yeah, between now and the end of the year, massive things are happening. And you
Absolutely.
got to understand, without going into detail, there are programs of programs of programs and groups and groups and groups moving this energy. And some of them are in tandem with each other, the vaccines, the this, the that. It doesn't matter what topic it is. It's really, at the end of the day, are you happy? Are you
Yeah.
happy with yourself? Are you, connected with other people? Are you helping someone? Do you have good food? Do you have good water? Do you have a nice place to stay? You know, and so I'm this is what I've been going through, is just
Yeah.
stripping it dry. And like, what's
And that's another thing about that whole simple. You said simple and yeah,
mm,
it's simple, but it's not easy. And the reason it's not easy is because we're not used to it. We're not used to the possibility that the world can actually run and thrive based on who you're with and who you're loving.
yeah.
What are you doing and how much are you loving it?
Hmm.
Being with who you love, doing what you love, and that's it. There's no
That's
words. There's
all.
no right.
Yeah. So when you're in this vibration of creation, so, so much of my work right now is about creation and creativity, but it's about, when you're in the act of creation, you are the creator.
Yeah.
You're embodying creation itself, and you can go in any direction. It's endless possibility. It's almost too much it's quantum. It's too much for
Yeah.
people to understand. So I tell them, just do, many wonderful spiritual teachers talk about doing the highest vibration possible, doing the next best thing, doing the thing that feels right for you, at that moment. And then it's not a pyramid structure. We're not moving up on the ladder to
That's
get to
right.
this, this bliss state. You can be in bliss right now. This world is here, and we're
Mhm.
creating it. So this is why I kind of watch and listen, especially to the artists, the musicians, the actors, the singers, the dancers, the chefs, builders. Watch. It's a combination of figuring out what your gifts are, and then doing them, and then collaborating. So this collaboration process is so important. So I love that we're doing this, and you know this is a time that we're creating something new. So we will get through this period. It's going to be really massive changes, things that people aren't expecting, but everybody is kind of like aligned with a camp. If this is what this group is saying, then this is what's going to happen. it,
Yeah.
it can go in 100 million directions,
That's
but
right.
doesn't matter. What only matters is your happiness, and how to stay in that high vibration, and we'll get through it. You talked about December 21st. I'm really in tune with the rocks and the mountains, and Uluru is going through there's a very profound thing that's going to happen there. A lot of people are talking about, but I think this heart chakra activation through all these lands. It's through the land. The mother is in the land, and it's opening up. Animals know what to do. Nature knows what to do. We just got to retune in with it. So this is why all these indigenous elders are coming
Hmm.
forward now, is like, remember this. It's not just about tribal teachings or this kind of thing. It's these ancient wisdoms that everybody has. We got to remember how to, pray with your water. So you asked me, like, things that I do. Every time I drink water, I offer a prayer, and water carries information. Like Dr. Moto said, when you induce it, it's carrying vibration information. You're inducing um, an energy form, memory from the land, memory from other people. When you're breathing, this is, the whole thing with the mask is so interesting, because breath and air and things are moving around all the time. My mama always told me, go out and get dirty, play in the dirt, and build up your immune system. We've got to be exposed
Hmm.
to the other, because then there is no other. It just becomes us. So
Right.
there's this
That's right.
pattern happening where we're
Yeah,
blending.
I'm currently doing that with spiders.
Spiders are awesome.
Yeah, I've got like a freaking battalion of them. But so we're kind of it's two levels. So the garage and the
Mhm.
studios
Yep.
downstairs, and there's a lot of, because it's cut into I guess part of a mountain or a
Yeah.
hill,
Yeah.
and so it's like a cavernous, kind
Hmm.
of climate and
Hmm.
atmosphere, and there's just boatloads of spiders. So I get in here, I clean them out. I come back the next day. And so I was just like, you know what? I've done it with rats. I've done it with mosquitoes. I've done it with whatever, the non-physical, the physical, I
Yeah.
can do with the spiders.
Yeah.
And
So, but so,
they're all over the room and we get along fine. You
yeah.
know, I don't
Well,
bother
I'm,
them.
I'm out in my tiny little loft.
Mm.
We've been living in an 8 by 40 foot, one room open space. Imagine that with a compost toilet.
8 by 40, 8 feet by 40 feet.
Yeah.
Like a lean-to or what?
No, it's a loft.
It's a loft.
Yeah. And it's been amazing. We get water from the other building that comes from the ground, and a compost toilet. I've been living like probably about as minimal as you can imagine.
Yeah.
And
Uh,
yeah, I'm living it, baby. And
uh,
there are bats upstairs, and birds and animals all around, and spiders. And the thing
mhm.
is, what I want to say about the animal nations, they come because they're messengers. So if you
Yeah.
see a spider, that spider is giving you a message about
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
The birds, if you look up and see a bird, everything that's happening to you, this is how your guides are actually talking to you.
Absolutely.
So instead of thinking this is my realm and I want them out, if you can work with them, you can actually sing to them.
Well,
You can talk to them. But
I
spider
do.
medicine is really awesome.
I do. And this is a great point because there is no middle ground.
Yeah.
So if we are claiming our dominance and our dominion over our space,
Yeah.
and we're erasing, eradicating, removing, think about what's happening there energetically. Now, I'm not saying that's a cardinal sin and all that. All I'm saying is at some point in time, oneness is oneness, and you got and it's all the same energy. And as long as I recognize it as something different than me, I'm going to continue to carry this whatever the level is of separation. So I mean, I think that sooner or later,
Yep.
the rubber's going to meet the road, and we're all going to have to walk the talk to the nth degree. And maybe that's what you were talking about when you said we need to decide at, in other words, what level do we want to do this at?
Yeah. Yeah. So the thing is, if you honor that song, that signature in everything, it doesn't become a problem for you anymore. That's actually where you get empowered. Honor the free will of I work with this Arcturian principle of free will. I'm very connected with the Arcturians, and have been told I am one in the physical. So each of us kind of steps in a little bit differently, more or less star self. But this is also connecting with these higher realms. When you aren't so curious to see them, they'll show themselves. And it comes from heart. So star people are here. I see them around. They're coming. They're visiting, and it has to be the right time where people are okay with it. So just like you look at a spider and you want to say go. If you're present with that spider, you're going to have an amazing experience. You'll telepath with the spider, and and each one of these beings carries their own truth, their own medicine, their own vibration. So
I've learned a lot from the frogs and the toads and the trees. So what's been going on with you being on that 23 acres? Are you, I would have, this is a dumb question. This is the question you asked me, you already know the answer, but since you've been there, I guess everything's leveled up.
Oh,
what's the communion been like with the trees and the nature beings and the animals and the birds? I know you've leveled up. I mean, what's that like? What's that experience like for you? What kind of information are you getting?
Yeah. So I'll tell you, I've been like this all my life, and I didn't really talk about it until now, but I can feel these energies really strongly and almost shapeshift into them as they're around. So the trees are all connected, the root system. They're all talking to each other. I consider them beings of light. They're just working on a different timeline. The waters, I mean, everything is flowing. Mother Earth is a being. Gaia is a being that's just birthing. She's just expanding her light. She has her own purpose. And so we're related to that. So all these elementals, the rocks, the stones, the trees, the birds, the sky, the clouds, are all doing their own thing. They're doing the same thing as us, trying to figure out how they're shifting. So I go out and I look at the clouds and I see patterns and I see faces, and then they dissipate and do something else, and I get messages that way. The trees are just looking at trees and plants going through the cycles of the seasons. They grow, they expand, they're beautiful, and then they wither, and they go into something else. So there's, I'll connect with the tree and just watch its process,
Yeah.
and realize, we're going through that too. It's endless. It's just a recycling of energy. So the animals, there are a lot of deer out here,
Hmm.
and they're sacred animals of the heart. They carry energies of the heart, and I just watch them, and we'll sit there and just kind of stare at each other for about 20 minutes. And so I'm getting my own information
Hmm.
that I learned. This is one thing I learned from this chief, my brother, Chief Golden Lady Eagle, is, you know, whenever you experience something, especially in nature or surroundings or other people, there's messages for you, meaning this is something I got to get out of this. Something, the universe or guides are showing me something that I need to learn about myself. So you can,
Hmm.
okay, the deer is telling me to be more heartful, or I gotta release something because I see a bird flying or something like that. Then there are other messages for other people. So if it's helpful or empowering, like I'm sharing with my work, it's like, okay, this is just my own personal experience, but
Hmm.
these are things that are coming through. So we were talking about the spider. I'll just share one
Yeah. Yeah.
kind of way this is coming through. So I used to do a lot of sweat lodges. I still do. And these animal spirits come in the lodge. And so the spider came in. And usually when I experience animals in a sweat lodge, they ask me if I want to blend with them. So I actually see them physically, energetically in the dark, and I kind of go into their body. I don't know how to explain this any other way. And I feel them, and each one has a different message and a different gift and understanding. So it's almost like I'm picking and choosing from being shown, all these different vibrations, and then I kind of make sense of it in the own quirky, artsy way that I do. But the spider said the reason we are so permissive and understanding is because, and open to everything, is because we see 360 perspective. In our eyes, it's almost like I was seeing like little televisions, and they said we can go into any dimensional realm we want. So there's that thing going on. They move through different dimensions, but they have found a way to, as an animal nation, so to speak, found a way to look at everything from every perspective. So they honor all perspectives. That's the message that I got from the spider.
Right
Same
on.
with the birds.
Right on.
The birds are the,
I
so
just keep going. I just got to tell you. I just realized I had a meeting at 5.
uh-oh.
They haven't. They haven't. They might have forgot too.
Well,
Tomorrow.
I would love to
So just keep
share some
going,
stuff.
and yeah, yeah, but yeah, get to what you wanted to make sure you hit
Yeah. Yeah, I
in
think
regard to the light language. I'm sorry about that.
no, that's okay. I know where,
Yeah.
so here's a couple things I want to say with timelines. Timelines are shifting. They're shifting all the time. So each of us has our own timeline and layered timeline. So if you're doing something that doesn't feel right, or it doesn't feel in sync, or it's uncomfortable, or you're stuck, just take a moment to go back inside and just shift and kind of imagine something new, or try something different. Just change your perspective. It's really, really easy, but it takes work to do this. It's a behavior that can be,
Right on.
ingrained. Okay. But what I want to say is just release the fear. Just let go of any other outside programs, because they're not your own. Don't take it on.
Yeah.
Whatever's happening in the world, we're going to go through some choppy times. With this election, it's going to be huge. I mean, I've heard about 20 different scenarios being played out, and I look at them, and then I ask myself, well, how is that going to affect me? What do I want to do about this? Where is the vibration feel? How is this helpful to other people? And it's also for me, because I'm a helper. What do people need right now? And so the message I'm getting is people need to feel that they're okay. So the biggest message is that everybody is absolutely okay exactly where they are. There's nothing to fix. You're just having the life path that you chose, so you can take responsibility for that. But it's a really beautiful time to be alive. It gets difficult and
Absolutely.
scary when you think that you have no power, or you feel lost, and we all do. We all do.
Yeah.
That
Absolutely.
moment when you're feeling lost is when the awakening comes. So,
This
you
is
know,
what I'm talking about. This is the new practitioner.
yeah,
The new practitioner brings it down to the human level.
yeah,
Doesn't exclude the human. Doesn't bypass the human.
yeah,
This is
yeah,
this is a new frequency, and that's not a shot against anybody. This
yeah,
is just a new characteristic of what to me is, for all intents and purposes, a new vocation.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
like yeah. Very cool.
That's how we're opening up to these higher senses. Actually, you got to acknowledge that there are more than five, but you got to start feeling them. You got to start
Yeah.
living them. Telepathy, cognition, higher vibrations, multidimensional thinking, being. You know, the cells of your body have instincts. You know, at a photonic level. You know, where our mind is not just capable of, you know, visualizing or memorizing or figuring things out. You can go back and forward in time if you know how to use it. It's extremely Doctor Strange. Like we were watching that video the movie the other day, and I just love how you know, he struggled with his own ego for that Marvel Comics movie, and how he overcame it because his desire to fix himself pushed him into these higher realms of
Right
learning.
on.
But then something opened up for him when he saw a bigger picture, that he was really there to be helpful to other people. So
Yeah.
I just, you know, if there's any message I really want to, really want to share, is just love yourself, which is also, you know, we've been taught that selfish or whatever. I mean, you know, I was given this body, I might as well enjoy it. You know, I gotta work with it. I gotta take care of it, you know, but this is a time that we really need to connect. And it's basically like repatterning. We're just doing a different pattern, a different system. We're creating new systems. So it's a combination of all of these ancient ways. These, it doesn't matter, whatever tool you want, doesn't matter. Just use what you need to be happy
Yeah.
and
Right on.
love. And so, you know, these languages, I really want to share some light language because a lot of people are asking about it, and
Go
this,
for it.
this is what I do. So you know, these languages are vibrational. Some of them are actually, as I'm speaking more and listening more to other people, I have activated a lot of people's light language, which is quite interesting, just by speaking. Just like that guy you were talking about, he already
Mm-hmm.
knew what he did. I don't know if he's ever done that before, but I synced into him, and I just kind of just started speaking, and from an energetic perspective, it's like I shifted a vibration up, and we just started connecting. I mean, he was doing elfin speak, he was doing opera, whatever. So everybody speaks this, but you don't have to understand it. But I
Okay.
think this language is multidimensional. So I can in tune, okay, this is Arcturian, this is Pleiadian, this is Orion, this is Sirian, this is Triangulum, this is Cygnus. I'm actually starting to learn the, like, reverse engineering, learning, you know, star languages, which is pretty cool. But there's also, each one of us has our own, and I've been speaking my own tone. So I want to share this a little bit, because what this does, what I've seen with every single client that I've had, when I start speaking, they've just moved beyond tears. It feels like an ancient grandmother. I don't know if it's my higher self or these guides I'm working with or whatever, but it's, you know, I want to share this because this is me sharing my heart. This is just my creative expression. So if I could just say a couple things, and maybe sing.
Do whatever you want to do.
Okay. So it's just
Do
going to come
whatever.
out how it does, because whoever's here is related to whoever's listening. So this is for you. It's actually your higher self, and your guides are bringing this through me. So I'll just share a couple things, and this is for healing and empowerment and clarification for your journey, for your life journey. Sukoto elakine ni na asha koto singi ni mo sukoto singi do wasane ni washante mi anano sokoto shingi di sakai no washante e sumo tu shingi ni la kai no washama o sokoto shingi do wasane no wasantu u ni seketa to shine mo bo la kai no washambo o sukita to shine no wasane ni alaka to shingi Aektu no shamudu la kin no shankote sekita to shime no sakato. Ni no la kain no shankote se ni mo ushikite to la kin no shambu so chu stingi do wasane. Ni no la kain no shambo do ni no ko to shingi ni do singi ro la bo shikita to shine no sanka to shine. Ano so ko to shingi no la kain ni no shinte. Nima also osukoto shingine wa sanene no actin wa shumudula kainu wa shantete sekito to shinine wa sa. Nima to udokoto shinge ni muso koto shinge musa ne tu shinge wa sanene wa shanto se. Mi ne lo wa kai ne no wa shangu de sekita do shini no wa sande. Mundo soko do shini de la kai no wa shambo de sekita do shini. Ano soko do la kino wa shanne wa si. Ano wa singuno wa kai no wa shanno wa siki. I know a shambo to a sing no a sun no a sea. I know a kind no a shan no a sea. I do a shaman no a kind no a she. I do a shaman no a kind no a she. I'm so good to a kind no a she. I'm siku na la katu siki.安住的开诺上古对是基督多心莫啦开那是国多心ke onda kalau wa kai no shambo tu sigi lo da kai ni tu shingi lo sama mo sa kita tu shingi da ano mo sa kita wa shingi lo no na sa ku tu sigi lo sune.
Jeez, beautiful.
It's like,
You know what's so amazing? Well, I guess it's just like your kids. You know, well, watching everybody's expansion.
yeah.
So like I haven't seen you in a long time. You know, like you don't see your kid in a while.
I know, Todd, you've grown so much since I've seen you.
Well, no, we all have.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. It's just so cool to see that.
Yeah.
Like you were already who you were, but like I can see through this last hour plus whatever where you been.
Yeah.
You know, like I know where you were, and now look where you're at, and even just all the code that came in. Yeah, I will reach out to you, but why don't you let I will reach out to you. I'm still kind of we're putting together November and December. We've got some energies or frequencies that we're trying to get our arms around, and I guess we're kind of leveling up like everything else and everybody else. So, but yeah, I'll reach out to you because we definitely need to continue this. This was done kind of spur of the moment because we had a cancellation. And I have a business meeting that started half an hour ago, and he just sent me the link. But tell everybody where they can find you. Don't forget to go back on my Facebook page and on YouTube, Soldier One Studios, and put in your links as well. But go ahead and let everybody know now how they can get in touch with you.
Thank you. So you can go to my website, shakaratoshah.com. That's SHAKARATOSHA.com, Shakara Tosha. You can find me on Facebook. I have a personal page, but I'm obviously upgrading all my social media and putting everything on my Shakara Tosha Light Beings professional Facebook page. On my website, I do light language sessions. So these are one-on-one activation, healing, whatever. I'm really starting to differentiate, you know, if people need a healing session or an activation or spontaneous light language or whatever. But I usually speak light language through these and tap into your higher self and your guides and bring in lots of messages. So it's been really profound. Everybody that does this session has a really amazing experience. So please reach out to me. And I would love the help at this time since I'm moving on the 1st. So anything is really helpful. This is how I'm living right now. The other thing is I have these cards called Oracle cards, right? That I've taken my art and put to. So these are like cards that I have a digital file that people can listen to and also download, you know, the images. I'm making it into a video, but it's like mini messages. And if you sign up for my newsletter, probably within about a month after I leave, I'm working on some webinars on all these different topics. So I'm working with Sasquatch, Arcturians, Shekinah, the Shakara, the Divine Feminine, the Rock Nation. I mean, it just lots of different guides on endless topics. And I'm working on a kind of a primer of a book that's coming up in a month. But I'm probably going to have hundreds of books. Honestly, there's so much come up.
Far out.
You know, so anyway, but please reach out and connect, and would love to do a session with somebody, or, you know, we'll be doing lots of free videos in the near future, just getting these messages out. So these are for the people, and I love you. And Todd, I just really want to appreciate who you are and what you do, and you and Morgan, and you guys are just, this is so important to keep the conversation going. So yeah, I'd love to talk more. So we will. I got it on my list here. Okay. I love you. I love you very much. Okay. Best to you and your partner and all yours.